This right here is the Samsung A05. No, I'm just kidding. It's the Galaxy A06. And if you're using the A05, this is probably not the upgrade you are looking for. So is this really not an upgrade to the A05? Well, only by a little. They've added a fingerprint scanner, which we've actually been complaining about all this while, so that's a good one. The only other advantage this has over the A05 is that it launched with Android 14 and it will have one more year of support. That's it. The cameras are the same, the software is the same, the processor is the same. It even looks the same except for the new key island. Actually, it's a very Apple way of doing things. If you want better, you either seek the A05s or wait to see what they'll do for the A06s. But now that you have all this information, is this review still worth watching? Of course it is. As much as it's similar to the predecessor, it is still a different phone, and like it or not, it is an overall better device than the A05, even if the difference is minimal. So let's get down to the review proper. The Galaxy A06 is an entry-level phone that costs about $85. It is not yet available officially in Nigeria, but my sources tell me it's coming in October, and I expect it to be priced similarly as the A05. That puts it somewhere between 130 to 160k. I got mine with the help of a friend. It's not retailing in stores yet, so this is not the version with warranty for Africa, but it's the same phone nonetheless. Samsung launching this phone earlier than expected is probably because the competition is heating up in the budget segment. Redmi also launched their 14C quite early. Looks like they are all taking notes from Transsion. The good news with the A06, however, is that it will stand out compared to the others because they seem to be sharing design ideas too. If you slap a nice case on this, someone might even mistake it for the new iPhone 16. Now the A06 is an entry-level phone, so that means basic specifications, just enough to make the phone run well, but nothing too serious. The design is conventional to Samsung's pattern, but the absence of a third camera ring is the only thing that might make someone not mistake it for any of the higher A series or the S series. But as I've said earlier, it can be mistaken for an iPhone with the right case. We have about 3 color options for this depending on your region. I wanted the light blue, but I ended up with black, which doesn't look bad at all. The texture on the back is different from what we had on the A05. While it looks glossy and it's annoyingly reflective, the stripe pattern can actually be felt, giving it better grip. On the frame, you will notice the elevated area for the buttons. I believe Samsung calls this the key island. As a much welcome improvement from the previous generation, we now have a fingerprint sensor. It is placed on the power button on that key island. This is one feature everyone else had except Samsung. Glad to see that we finally have it here. The A06 supports dual nano SIM cards and has an extra slot for a micro SD card. The memory options should be 4 or 6 gigs of RAM and 64 or 128 gigs of storage. We did not get a 6 gig option for the A05 in this region last year, and there's no telling if we'll get that this year. But in the event that we do, that might bring its pricing closer to the A05s, which I'll then recommend you get that instead. Should you want this, I recommend going for the 128 gig option because One UI does not really hold up well when it comes to budget phones, especially when you are running out of storage. You can always support it with a micro SD card, but more internal storage is a safer bet. The Galaxy A06 maintains the same display as its predecessor, 720p LCD with 60Hz refresh rate. The U-notch is still there. Now the display looks great and is one of the better looking LCD on a budget phone except for that notch. However, 60Hz is below the standard. Most if not all of the competition have 90Hz at least. They're already even exploring 120Hz territory, which you could say is unnecessary for a 720p display, but 60Hz is not exactly close when it comes to fluidity. But you'll have to make do with it if your budget can't go any higher and it has to be a Samsung phone. You'll only be bothered about its lack of high refresh rate if you maybe use the phone with higher refresh rate. In summary, the target audience for this probably don't know any better. Maybe they don't even know what refresh rate is. The software here offers nothing we've not already seen. It is One UI 6.1 on Android 14. Still one of the best skins you'll find on any budget Android phone with guaranteed 2 years of OS upgrades. When it comes to features though, it is lacking. You still get better multitasking features compared to what we have on a budget Redmi for example, but you lack a default screen recorder application, no smart view, no edge panel. But good news is that we now have secure folder. I don't think this was on the A05 at launch, correct me if I'm wrong. You will experience delays with the software, like slow response to certain actions. When it's idle for a while, it might take some time to respond to basic things like app launch or swiping back home. The camera software also shows significant lag. You need to wait at least a second in between shots because of the shutter lag. You can probably excuse most of this because it's an entry-level phone, but I've used similarly priced devices from the competition with snappier software. Samsung still has a lot to do when it comes to optimization for One UI on their budget phones. On the overall performance for day-to-day usage, the Galaxy A06 does just fine as long as you don't have really high expectations. It will run regular apps just fine with a few delays here and there. It is powered by the same processor as last year, the MediaTek Helio G85. Hard to complain about this though, the G85 is still capable, and if you think about it, what could they really have used? The competition has actually moved to the new Helio G81, which does not exactly offer more in performance than the G85. Should you game with this? No, but if it's your only option, you probably can. Call of Duty Mobile runs okay here, but that's just all it is. Okay, no high performance, no lag-free gameplay, it's just playable. If you stick to the low recommended settings, you should be fine with the games you install. One thing the A06 is great at is its battery life. It is well optimized and it lasts long. It is 5000 mAh in capacity, and you have 25 watts fast charging here, so it doesn't take too long to charge full. Nothing has changed when it comes to the cameras of the Galaxy A06, but the image processing is better than I remember from the A05 at launch. It's a 50 megapixel main and 2MP depth combo on the rear. While the selfie camera is just 8 megapixels, in the right lighting you can still get some great shots, sharp and good on skin tones. The rear cameras do a decent job with the photos as long as you don't attempt to use it in low light. Its performance is good for its price, and it's probably one of the better ones when compared to others. Video recording maxes out at 1080p 60 fps. With steady hands and good lighting, you can get okay videos. There is no stabilization. The Galaxy A06 is an entry-level phone you get if you want something with good software, great build quality, solid battery life. You have to manage your expectations on performance. It's a budget phone. Samsung still needs to optimize better so it's snappier. The default screen recorder is a basic Android feature. It should be here. But build quality and design-wise, it is solid. Plus, it's a Samsung. This is the most you can get for this budget if you are sticking to the brand. If you want something that offers better within the same budget, you should look at Tecnospark 30C or Redmi's 14C. At the same price point, you get more RAM and storage, also higher refresh rate. So that's the Galaxy A06, same as the A05 but with a fingerprint scanner and 1 more year of software support. Peace out.